look at some of the programs which are going to be used or implemented by a for loop. We'll not start with a high-end program which is actually implemented for a real-life application. Let's start with some simple programs. As we proceed in this particular section, we'll increase the level of difficulty for the programs. The very first program is going to be a simple program to print all the numbers up to n. And then we'll try to modify some aspects of this particular code itself. Now, what I mean by this particular title, program to print all the numbers up to n. Suppose if the user says that he will enter the number of value of n as say 25, it means that I'm supposed to print all the numbers up to 25. I'm supposed to print 1, 2, 3 and so on till 25. So whatever the value which the user enters, we are supposed to generate all the numbers up to this particular n. Modify the same code for the second option, where the user will enter a value of say 25, but rather than printing every value up to 25, what I'll do is I'll try to print numbers only which are even 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on till 24, because the first even number is 2 from 1 to n and the last number is n minus 1 if n is going to be an odd value, and if n is going to be an even value, n has to be printed. We will further modify the same code. If the user enters a value as 25, I wish to print only the odd numbers which are in this particular 25, 1, 3, 5, 7 and so on till 25. So we'll write a program for 3 different cases. The first case where I'll ask the user to enter the value of n and I'll print all the numbers from 1 to n. And then I'll ask the user to print only even values. If the user says that he has to print only odd values up to n, how exactly the program has to be done. So basically what I need to do is, since I said that I'm supposed to start with a value called as 1, that is my initial value, and I know the final value, that is n. So when you are aware of the initial value, that is 1, and the final value, that is n, what you need to do is you need to start traversing from 1 to n depending upon the application. If the user says that you have to print all the numbers from 1 to n, then take this I from 1 and keep on incrementing it till 25 by 1 step. If the user says that he wants to print only the even number from 1 to 25, so to identify what is the first even number, what is the first even number from 1 to 25? 2. Set that as the initial value. So 2 is my initial value, and then keep on moving towards 25, not in steps of 1 but in steps of 2, because after 2 I'm not supposed to generate 3, I'm supposed to generate directly 4. So what I'll do is from 2 I'll make this particular loop variable to move to 4 and print the value of this particular 4 on the screen. After printing the value of I, that is 4, I'll make this particular I to reach to 6, print the value of I, and so on and so on and so on till I reach 25. If you say that I'm supposed to print all odd numbers from 1 to 25 or 1 to n in general, so I'll start I as 1, but rather than taking this particular I in steps of 1, I'll take again in steps of 2, where I will move from 1 to n in steps of 2 to generate only odd numbers. So basically a loop variable I has to be used, and either I have to move it from 1 to n, or I have to move from 2 to n, or I have to move from 1 to n in steps of 2 or in steps of 1, depending on the application. Now let's look at the code after understanding the logic of this particular program. The program which is used to print all the n numbers on the screen. So now if you observe this particular code, I'll ask the user to enter the value of n, read that value as n. So declare 2 variables n and I, where n is the one which is entered by the user as the final value, and I is a loop variable at this place. Now observe the implementation of the for loop in this particular code. So I is 1 in this case. Check whether 1 is less than or equal to n. If true, then it says print the value of I which is supposed to be used. So I'm now using a printf as a repetition instruction. So printf keeps on repeating these instructions again and again till I reaches the value of n, and every time when I goes back, I will be 1. So I will be 1 in this particular case. So I have these for loop examples. Now if I set the value of n as 5, so I will be 1 less than or equal to 5, true, print the value of I, that is 1. After slash n says get the cursor next line, go back to I++. I++, a pre or post will not make any difference. I have stated this in the previous video. So I++ or ++I. So I is now 2 2 less than or equal to 5, true. Again print the value of I. Go back, I plus plus, I will become 3. 3 less than or equal to 5, true. Print 4. 4 less than or equal to 5, print 5. 5 less than or equal to 5, true. Print. Now when you go back, I becomes 6. 6 less than or equal to 5, false. False. Quit. You will execute the remaining code of this particular part. Now, what if this particular code has to generate only even numbers from 1 to n? Only even numbers from 1 to n. The first even number which I counted was 2. So let's write this particular for loop for I equals to now the first even number, that is 2. And the condition still remains same, I less than or equal to n. But here your I should not move sequentially. I has to move by 2 steps so that it will move to the next even number, that is I equal to I plus 2. And then within this I can have the same instruction, that is printf %d comma I. So here your I is printed as the first value 2, and when it goes back to E3, the for loop third expression, it says I equal to I plus 2, which means that the value of I is now increased to 4. Again check the condition. If 4 is less than or equal to n, print that 4, go back and say I equal to I plus 2. So when I say I equal to I plus 2, I will now be increased to 6. So here I am not making this particular I to move sequentially. I has been taken from 2 to 6 in steps of 2. What if I ask you to print only odd numbers from 1 to n? So I'll further modify this particular code. So here the first odd number is I equals to 1. Yes. Now I had to take this particular I till less than or equals to n. But in this case also I has to be incremented twice, because I should be used for 1, 3, 5, 7. So again the same printf can be used in this particular for loop also. So I have stated a for loop which will help us to print all the numbers from 1 to n, to print only even numbers from 2 to n, or to print only odd numbers from 1 to. Whenever you are supposed to move in a specific sequence, identify by how many steps it is supposed to be incremented. If it is continuous sequentially, then plus plus. If it is in steps of 2, in steps of 3, in steps of 4, then in that case I equals to I plus 2. So here we can print all the numbers from 1 to n, or even numbers, odd numbers. Depending upon the program, you can change this particular printf. Suppose if I want to need a title, printf even numbers are, printf odd numbers are. So I can place that particular printf above this particular for loop. The very first program introduces the simple application of this particular for loop, where I had used a for loop for printing purpose. Thank you.